Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis,
Hello.
who's apparently in a very different temperature than I am because it's been in the hundreds over here, and you look like you're about to go ice fishing.
It's funny because Lulu's getting all kinds of FEMA warnings on her phone about the heat. And I look out the window and it's foggy and no sun. And it's like, in the mid to upper 60s. And it's like, yeah, sorry, FEMA.
Yeah, well, that's good. You don't have to worry about overheating. We took a week
Yep.
off. I went to Vegas, had a really good time, and now I'm back, and we're going to talk about what we could argue one of the all-time greatest concept albums of all time. And of course, we're talking about the album that was released in May of 1988. Just in time for my birthday. I think it came out like May 2nd or something like that. And we're, of course, talking about Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. What an amazing, amazing album. Still holds up. One of the great concept albums of all time. What are your initial thoughts on this fantastic album?
It's really a great album. There's not a crappy song on the CD, period. And it's got the shining stars, of course. I have Eyes of a Stranger, I Don't Believe in Love. The only thing and I think I've mentioned this in another episode that annoys me about this is the production of it. It's not as full. It's just a little tinny in my opinion. But great album.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually, surprisingly, I think it only went platinum, and the highest peak on the charts was number 50. But the interesting thing about this album is this is the first CD I've ever owned. I
Wow.
Yeah, this was the first one, and when I got it, a friend of mine got this for my birthday. Like I said, it was right around my birthday. She got it for me. I didn't even have a CD player then. She got it for me, and then she recorded it onto cassette, and that was part of the birthday gift. So I had the cassette that I could listen to in my car, but I had to wait a while to get the CD player to actually be able to listen to it in its full glory. And why I remember
Wow.
that, I'll never know. I was trying desperately to hold out. I used to say I'm not getting a CD player until my band puts out a CD, and then I finally had to break down and go like, all right, I've waited long enough. It's not happening for a while. I'm getting a damn CD player, and I'll be listening to Queensryche.
That's super cool, man. I'm racking my brain trying to remember like what the first CD that I was. I want to say that I got like Ingve, but I'll have to think about that. I can't remember the first CD that I purchased, offhand.
Well, technically, I didn't purchase this one. It was purchased for me, but it's the first CD I owned, so it was a big moment in my life. But let's
Super cool.
talk about it. So, like you said, there's not a bad track on it. If you had to pick a couple of your favorite tracks, what would you say? What do you lean towards?
The ones that I've called out, I mean the hits, obviously, The Eyes of a Stranger, I Don't Believe in Love. Those are two great, awesome tunes. It's been a while since I've listened to it, so to be honest, I have to go back and go, oh yeah, it's that other song that I liked, and I can't remember that right now. But I do remember that it's one of those CDs that you just play from beginning to end, and there's not any skipping songs or anything. It's really great.
Yeah, I mean, it does have some little interludes and things like that, which don't really, kind of add a little bit to the CD. But for me, surprisingly, my favorites are the ones that aren't that popular. For me, I think Speak is a phenomenal track. That's one of my favorites. And I think if I have to pick an absolute favorite track, I have to go with The Needle Lies. I think that's one of the heaviest Queensryche songs there are, up there with Queen of the Reich, and that's just a phenomenal song. I really love The Needle Lies, and to me, those are the songs that really stand out, even more so than you say the singles, which I don't even think they charted, but I Don't Believe in Love and Eyes of a Stranger. I actually kind of think "I Don't Believe in Love" is one of the weaker songs on the CD. I love "Eyes of a Stranger." I never get sick of it, but "I Don't Believe in Love" I kind of do.
Yeah, yeah. Breaking the Silence was the other one that I was trying to think of. That was also sort of one that got a lot of radio airplay. I remember seeing them open up for Metallica, and I was quite under the influence, so I don't remember a lot of that concert period, which really sucks. But I do remember being really impressed with hearing Queensryche because that was like the first time that I was actually listening to them. And it's like, man, they've got some really good songwriting. And I do remember thinking that, but that's probably one of the very few memories that I have of that concert.
So that was like one of the first times you actually heard a lot of their songs.
Yeah, yeah, it was actually. It was. It was on Metallica's "Injustice for All" tour, and I guess it was this tour that they were supporting the Eyes of the or Operation Mindcrime,
Yes, I was there as well, at the Cow Palace. I have a much
right?
better recollection of it than you do, because I was stone cold sober. But I thought, you know, Metallica was good. I thought Queensryche blew them away, and
Yeah.
obviously because they were on the Operation Mindcrime tour, but they were openers. They didn't play the album in its entirety. Which, by the way, I still have the box set, the
Nice.
Operation Live Prime, and I'm holding it upside down. Let me hold it right side up. I'm like, yeah. So this was actually from 1991, recorded May 10th through 12th, 1991 in Wisconsin. Did not know that, but yeah. So this is great. I don't had a video, had an audio. Yeah, I'm missing one of them, but somebody borrowed it and returned it without. I forgot it was a VHS tape or what, but yeah, getting back to that Metallica and Justice for All, I was just so incredibly impressed with their performance. But I had seen that was not the first time I'd seen Queensryche. I saw them on the Warning tour. God, who were they opening? I saw them open for Kiss, and I saw them open for ACDC, and obviously I saw them open for Metallica. I don't know why. I don't remember why I didn't go see them when they came back around. Um, Performing it in its entirety as a headliner. I don't remember. I wish I did. That's kind of frustrating to me. It's like, why wouldn't I have gone to that? But I didn't go.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but you're right. That was a great, great performance. I was actually going to bring it up. You said you weren't happy with the production. What? Let me think. Peter Collins was the producer of this album. Peter Collins did several albums for Rush. He did a Bon Jovi album and did several Gary Moore albums, including The
Really?
Wild Frontier. Yes, I do my research for this show. Um, but what is it about the production that you feel is substandard?
And it's interesting because I mean, the Wild Frontier, I love the production on that album. I think that's great. And a few of the other ones that you called out as well. It just seems tinny. It's like you're listening to an AM radio or something. It doesn't have that fullness. I can't place my finger on it more than that. I know that the album that they came out with after was much better as far as the production goes. This one, for
Empire?
whatever reason, I'm sorry.
You referring to Empire?
Yes, Empire.
I think he
That
did.
one
Did he? I think he did that one too, though.
really, yeah, that one's way different to me. I mean, it's got a lot more bass in it. It's got a lot more fullness, and there's just something about this one that's just it's like like I said, you're listening to an AM radio. It's tinny.
I don't think it's tinny, but I do agree with you. I don't like the production. I thought the previous album, Rage for Order, had much more in terms of dynamics. And it really jumped off, the turntable or the CD player or the cassette deck, whatever medium you chose to check it out in. And I was initially disappointed. I thought it was closer to production similar to The Warning, which is another production of theirs that I really did not care for. And I felt that it was closer to that sound than it was for Rage for Order. So I don't know why they didn't continue with Neil Kernon. Um, I thought Rage for Order was fantastic, but you know, to each his own, and but I would love to hear this remastered and redone, sonically, like you said. But in terms of the Queensryche catalog, where would this stand for you?
To me, this is top. I mean, as far as listenability, I mean, as far as the songwriting, it's the pinnacle to me. The next one, was it
Empire.
Warning you said, or Empire? It was also good. It had different things, and they were starting to deviate, I guess. I mean, the 80s were sort of coming to a close, and I think it had a little bit of departure from what the traditional Queensryche was. Still good stuff in there, but this to me is the cake. This is absolutely it.
Yeah,
What about you?
it's hard for me. I mean, let's take the EP out of the equation, right? Because that's not a full length album. And, in terms of full length albums, I still always gravitate to Rage for Order.
Hmm.
It's so funny for me because I remember being a little just after the amazing EP, the Warning. Even though I enjoyed a lot of the songs on it, there was just something about it didn't connect with me the same way. And then I saw how they were dressed on the Rage for Order, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna buy it, but this is gonna suck. And I instantly fell in love with it from Walk in the Shadows. As soon as it started, it's like, okay, I'm in. I'm in on this. This is a great album. And I still think I would lean towards Rage for Order as my favorite Queensryche album. Um,
Wow.
I would say Operation Mindcrime would be second. The Warning third, and then Empire is pretty hit and miss with me. A lot of it was a little too commercial, like Jet City Woman, and
Yeah.
I can't stand Silent Lucidity. So that's another one where it's like, oh God, please don't play that. Please don't play it. And unfortunately, a lot of times in concert, they chose to perform it, and ick. So yeah,
Jet City Woman is definitely one of those that gets under my skin in not a very good way. Silent Little City, I actually like that song a lot. Very Pink Floydish, obviously. I thought that they did a really good job with it. And again, sort of a departure from what they were doing before. I think that that's what they intended to do with that album was start to change. Still good stuff on there, don't get me wrong. It's just not the core of Queensryche like I see Operation Mindcrime.
well, it's funny because you brought up Pink Floyd, and you're more of a fan than I am. Can't stand Pink Floyd, but a lot of people would say The Wall is, I don't know why I said The Wall, but is the pinnacle of concept albums. Of course, I would vehemently disagree, and yes, I said vehemently. The alcohol hasn't taken effect yet. What do you have an all-time favorite concept album, or where would Operation Mindcrime exist in that, in your mind? Is it the
That's
top, or is it in your top five? What do you think?
that's a tough one, man. I'd have to give that some thought. I mean, definitely The Wall was pretty amazing. Uh, Not 80s, but
No, I'm
it
just
was
saying.
it was on the cusp of the 80s actually. It was like 79 or something that was released. Late 79. Um, I'd really have to give that some thought, John. I don't know. I don't know.
Is the Wall a better album in your opinion than Operation Mindcrime?
Oh man. Um, I don't know that I'd say that it's better. It's different, right? It's definitely I'd have a hard time choosing between the two because I love The Wall. The Wall's great too. Although I'm gonna be honest, there's some songs that I'd rather fast forward through on The Wall and not so much with Operation Mindcrime. So yeah, I maybe Operation Mindcrime, but I'm not sure. That's a really tough one to call. You're putting me between a rock and a hard place, Smalls.
That's what I do, and I don't remember that being as a quote for the Sandlot. But okay, nice try though. You're killing me on that one, Smalls. Um, but anyway, I don't know. It's hard for me for concept albums. Obviously the Wall's out, but for me, I think it'd be a hard choice between Queensryche Operation Mindcrime and Savage's Streets. I love Streets, and it's an album came out in the '90s, so we can't really discuss it like we would, or devote an episode to it, or I'd be happy to do it. but I think that Sabotage album is up there with Queensryche, and I think the story of it kind of hits a little bit deeper with me, because it's a little bit more of a personalized story as opposed to Operation Mindcrime. Both are amazing. Both take you on some incredible journeys, and yeah, that would put me between a rock and a hard place, Smalls, between those two, and deciding. And like it's like one of those things, right? It's probably whatever day of the week you ask me, you're gonna get a different answer. But I'd say those are my top two choices, and they're probably one A and one B.
What about, I can't remember the name of the band, but I'm gonna try and describe it to you because we've talked about this in another episode. I think it was a concept album, and I remember the album cover had like a bunch of television screens, and it was like the whole thing was about you getting brainwashed, and
Toxics think this.
there you go. That was also a concept album, right?
That was a concept album as well. And again, it was a concept album based upon, like you said, how media, which God, that was really before its time, right? You kind of manipulates you and everything else. And they were using like TV and ads, and like the dichotomy of you're listening, they're telling you drugs are bad, and then the next commercial is alcohol, go buy some alcohol kind of things. So it's a great concept album. There are some, again, one of my favorites. I love Toxic, but there are a few of the songs that I don't think quite equal up um, to the others. For example, they do a cover of the Led Zeppelin song out on, is it Out on the Tiles, I think. But they do that.
Maybe.
I think that's the proper title. And, that's a little lackluster for me. But so there's a few that don't quite measure up, even though it's fantastic. But good call on that one. I'll still stick with Streets and Operation Mindcrime as my 1A and 1B.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
talking about, Mindcrime, we talked about some of our favorites. You said you don't really have a least favorite track, or you like them all, but if you had to choose, what do you think would be some of your weaker tracks on it?
Again, it's been a long time since I've listened to it, so I'd have to go back and re-listen to it to give you a decent answer on that. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I tend to lean towards it's a good song, but Sweet Sister Mary. And that's one of the songs where it's like, sometimes it's a longer song, and sometimes I'm in the mood for a longer song and it holds my interest, and other times I just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it this time, and I'll go ahead and press next on the track. And that's usually the one I skip. If I had to pick a song that I feel is like the weakest of the bunch, but definitely go back, revisit some of those tracks, the lesser known tracks, especially The Needle Lies. I just think that's such an amazing song. And I think that's one of those songs where I really fell in love with it in a live setting, hearing them play that and speak, because those are really when they stood out for me, as hearing those songs in a live setting.
I had forgotten actually. I'm sort of looking at their Wikipedia page that they had an instrumental on there, Anarchy X.
That was the intro.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember now is the
And
whole,
it's kind of, yeah, I
yeah.
kind of reprise it at the end of some of their concerts, or not reprise it, but play it at the end of their concerts to kind of be as work as an outro.
Okay. All
So,
right.
yeah, it's a cool song. It's a really cool song, but yeah, that's kind of the first thing on the album after you bloody bastard. Mm. So there's that. A very British sounding gal, obviously, and hopefully I did it some sort of justice.
Yes, you sounded very
So,
effeminate there, John.
well, I was trying. So I do have to talk a little bit about the Vegas weekend. We'll go off topic a little bit here.
Sure.
Was a really really good time. It was kind of funny because we were staying at the Resorts World. It was me and my son, and we were staying at the Resorts World in Las Vegas. Great place, by the way. I highly recommend it. I thought it'd be a little far off the strip, but it really wasn't. They were having the summer league basketball. It was crazy everything that was going on. They had summer league basketball, so every time you'd go down to the lobby, you'd see all these basketball players and some of the people you knew, some of them you didn't. Kevin Hart actually had his birthday party and was performing that weekend. Never ran into him, but then again, after seeing all these tall people, I don't think I was looking for any short people. And then the UFC actually had a card that weekend, and they had an international fight week. So I was able to meet Stipe Miocic, who is considered the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, has a fight for the belt, I think in November. And what a super cool guy, man. That was such a cool thing to meet that dude. I've been very fortunate enough to meet a lot of UFC fighters. And the thing that's common is they're all really cool. Like I've
Oh,
never met
nice.
anybody who was a jerk. Like even guys that I didn't really care for example, um, Tito Ortiz was never a favorite of mine. I've never liked him, but we were at I think we were at the Fit Expo a couple years back, and my wife wanted a picture with him. And he was super cool with my wife. He was super cool with his fans, and so I kind of developed a new level of respect for him. So it was a really good time, a really good weekend. And I know you went and saw some Hawaiian artist. I'm sure you're not going to remember the name, but I'll put you on the spot and ask you about it anyway.
It was John, and it was a
Great
very
start
Latino last name.
for
John Cruz.
Hawaiian.
John Cruz. Yeah. I think he may be uh sort of Filipino Hawaiian. And I think that's where he's getting his last name from. But yeah, went and saw them play at a local venue here, just 6 miles down the road, and went there just expecting to, really just hang out with people that I knew and that had invited us to go to the show, and not really care too much for the show, but ended up liking the show. There was some really good songs that they performed, and they were tight, and it was good. I was surprised. It was really good.
Gotcha. You have
Let me
any?
ask you.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Please, please.
Well, let me ask you about this. With all the hoopla of the sphere out there, did you actually have a chance to see the sphere in
It
Las
did.
Vegas this
You
trip?
you can see it a lot of locations, so it was pretty easy for us to find. Um, it was neat. We went out there, and because, like I said, they had the NBA Summer League at some point when we were driving around, and they made it look like an NBA basketball. So that was really cool. So I saw it a couple times. It looked really neat. I never got that close to it, but you'd be amazed at all the different points you could actually see it. So for those that aren't aware, they recently, I don't think it's opened yet, but the Sphere, I don't know if that's the official name for it, but I think it's an 18,000 seat music venue. And unlike most stadiums and things like that, this is specifically for music. So it sounds like it's going to be a really great atmosphere. U2 is going to open it and play multiple dates at it, and it should be really interesting to see. It's looks amazing because you can change the sphere to look like anything you want. Like I said, we saw it; it was like a basketball. Um, but I think they're going to have a lot of success with it, and I think it's great that it's specifically for music. A lot of times you have bands like U2 that'll play like in these stadiums that are great for sports, but not necessarily set up for music. This is set up for music, so um, hopefully they're going to get some really great acts in there. Sorry, I'm not a U2 fan, and
Yeah.
I'd love to see something there. I just don't know of many artists that I'm into that would be playing such a facility. So
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing, I think it was like 1.2 million LEDs on the outside of this thing, and I forgot how many billions of dollars it cost to create. It's insane, man. It's insane. And it's actually called the MSG Sphere, Las Vegas.
okay,
But
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, every time I go out to Vegas, there's something new, something bigger. better. There's a lot of always things that I want to check out. And I usually my duration for Vegas is about 3 days, and then I'm like, I got to get out of this place.
Overload.
So 3 days, but I always, there's always things like, oh man, I should have checked this out, or I'd like to check this out. So it always gives me something to look forward to next time. But you have any concerts coming up in the near future for you?
As a matter of fact, I do. I'm going to go see Extreme in August, and I've got the meet and greet package for that. So that's one of my very few things on my bucket list. And I wanted to meet Nuno Betancourt, so I'm looking forward to that.
I wonder
And
why.
rap a little Portuguese with the guy. And then in November, I believe it is, or early, no, it's early December. I'm sorry. We got to go see Aerosmith.
Very cool. Who's opening
It,
for Aerosmith?
I knew, and now I can't remember. Somebody that was like half decent. So, but I can't remember now. I'm sorry.
Wasn't Living Color, right? Or is that with the
No,
Extreme?
that's with Extreme. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And yourself?
Tomorrow I'm gonna see the greatest yacht rock band on the planet, Yachtly Crew. Highly recommend it. They just dropped an EP of 5 songs, and it's one original, which is really, really good, and 4 covers. So that's gonna be a blast. I think July 29th, I'm going to see Brian Adams and Joan Jett.
Nice.
There's a few things coming up. 38 Special, I'm probably gonna go see in the near future. Um, Maybe Winger, since somebody won't come out and join me for that concert. I won't name names, but yeah. So there's a lot of things coming up that I'm really looking forward to. That's maybe Cheap Trick. There's another one that's kind of be out here. I'm gonna try and see. I have tickets for so many things, man. It's like can't even keep it in check. I'm just looking at like, when am I seeing this? When am I seeing that? So
Yeah.
yeah, but really looking forward to seeing Brian Adams. I've never seen Brian Adams, and that'll be the 29th. So that should be a really good show. I'm looking forward to seeing him for the first time. Hopefully, it's an enjoyable experience. I don't know what his voice sounds like these days. Didn't see him in his heyday, but give him a shot now.
I just recently saw a video of his, and it looked rather recent because he looked older. He still sounded amazing. He still sounded really good. So I think you're gonna see a good show.
Cool. Well, getting back on topic, anything else you want to throw out on? Let me hold it up right this time. Nope, I still did it wrong. This is Operation Live Crime, but in regards to Operation Mindcrime,
Very interesting album cover. I mean, I remember the Screaming Nun. That's what I always thought that was. And
Sweet Sister Mary.
yep. And yeah, so it's just like a black and white, sort of artistic drawing with all kinds of different things in it. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's definitely one that I remember. As soon as I think of the albums, I immediately think of the Screaming Nun.
Gotcha. Okay. You think you talk screaming nuns? I think of Merciful Fate, but hey, that's me, and I won't even get into that one. But all right. Yeah, and Jeff Tate, I guess, since he left Queensryche and they had kind of their fallout, he's the only one that can go out and perform Operation Mindcrime in its entirety. Queensryche can't do that. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was one of the things that they did in, I guess, the court settlement that obviously we're not privy to, but that was one of the outcomes. Is only Jeff Tate has the ability to perform Operation Mindcrime in its entirety. Queensryche can't do it. So you want to see it in its entirety, you're gonna have to go see Jeff Tate.
Interesting. So, but the Queensryche can still do songs off of it. They just can't do it front to back.
Correct. They can't perform Operation Mindcrime in its entirety. They can perform cuts, just they can't do it in its entirety. So I don't think they have any interest in it anyway. Having seen them perform, I feel like they perform such a large part of their catalog that it's not really something that they choose to focus on. So I think it works out best for both parties, and hopefully, you know, I honestly, to be honest, be honest, I feel like I saw Jeff Tate a couple years back, and he performed Rage for Order and Empire in their entirety. And I felt like his voice was better than when I saw him in the 2000s with Queensryche. So I feel like for whatever reason, his performance greatly improved, and his voice seems stronger, which is good. I mean, it's not what it used to be, right? But that's the hardest part for singers, is to
Yeah.
maintain that. But it was great to hear him in really good form and not being as bad as he was with Queensryche in the 2000s. So good for him.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. Because yeah, especially with his style of singing, that's something that just wears. It's not a lot of artists that can have the staying power into their 50s, 60s, et cetera, et cetera. So very good to hear.
Good to hear. Well, guys, as always, guys and gals, we appreciate you watching. Please let us know what your favorite song is from Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime is in the comments. Did we screw this one up? Did we miss one of the best songs? I don't think so. But and especially if you like the more obscure tracks like me, like the Speaks and the Needle Lies, I want to hear about that because I can't be the only one. Let Lewis listen to the big hits. And Lou, as always, brother, take us out.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.